As the Modi government completes 1 year in office, I have with me a very distinguished panel to discuss the highs and lows of this government. I have with me Jay Panda, MP from the BJD. I have Dushyant Chautala, who is also from the INLD. Gaurav Gogoi, familiar face, spokesperson Congress and an MP. Veer Sanghvi, again a very familiar face. He's a former editor Hindustan Times, a commentator and a columnist. And Samvit Patra, whom we know for his many sound bites. He's representing the BJP, as we know. So Samvit, you want to go first and start with all your achievements, then we can all pull them apart.
Personally speaking, the biggest achievement I would say is the bridging of the mistrust that the people of this country had for the government for last 10 years. And secondly, if you really ask me as to what the biggest achievement is, it's an act of omission. And the act of omission, rather than act of commission, is no corruption for 1 year. This is something which is very humongous, because for 10 last years, we have almost always been talking about one of the biggest scams tumbling out of the cupboard, and approximately 12 to 15 lakh crore rupees of the country.
You're supposed to say achievements and not criticize the other one yet.
This is one of the biggest achievements,
like
where the people of this country have trust on the government, and the government in turn has paid back the trust of the people by saying, look, na khaunga, na khane dunga, and every penny of yours would be guarded by me. This is one a very big achievement. And secondly, personally speaking, again I would say, whatever the government comes out with the achievement list, that would be second. But the financial inclusion of the country that the Modi government has achieved within a short span of time, which even went to the Guinness Book of World Record, the Jan Dhan Yojana. It was really an irony that all these years of independence, 60 years of independence or more than that, more than 50% of the country had not been included into the mainstream finance. And that's the reason as to why people could not get their loan.
I can see Gaurav smiling at the inclusion part. You want to come in with your land bill bit?
Well, no, I agree with Sambit that there is no concrete achievement list, and all that he has is election rhetoric, which I think the public of India are now tired of. They are 11 months old, they are waiting for results. And if you've seen since the last 1 year, we exposed in the first session in July of 2014 that there was an entire list of U-turns that they had done on black money, land boundary agreement. Then we saw in the winter session of December that the ministers are making hugely controversial remarks which are spreading hatred and disunity. As opposition, we took on the ruling party then. And now in this budget session, you see that all the social welfare sectors of health and education are facing massive budget cuts. So that's true. There is a lot of image building that Sambit is rightly talking about, that the Modi government been a lot about sentiment, but very little about substance on the ground.
Veer, I'll bring in the regional players in just a bit. But the two of them, what do you make out of the?
Well, I'm in the awkward position of agreeing more with Sambit than I do with my other friend. Yes, which is, I think, the biggest achievement of the Modi government is, I don't agree with him about the last 10 years, but certainly the last 4 years were a period when people had lost faith in the idea of government. They thought government was just a way a method that politicians used to rook us, to steal, rob us blind. I think there was a huge leadership vacuum. There was a sense that we were going nowhere as a country, that the world had given up on India. And I think Sambit is right. I think Mr. Modi has given us some hope again. I think there is a sense of governance, and he's right again. There haven't been that many scams. Though to be fair, nobody talked about scams in the first year of Manmohan Singh either. But there are three negatives. The first negative is the burden of expectations. When you win a decisive victory, people have expectations. Compare Manmohan Singh in year 1 to Manmohan Singh the second time around. The first time around, we had no expectations. The second time around, when he'd won his second term, we had huge expectations. He clearly couldn't manage them. One gets the sense that Modi is grappling with these expectations. Second, I agree again that the problem is that there are too many discordant voices in the BJP. The vote for Modi was a vote for development. I'm not sure everybody in the BJP sees it that way, hence the remarks he spoke about, which are somewhat communal and divisive in nature. And third, I think, and this could only be a sense, that the messaging is wrong. Over the last month or so, Modi has seemed less sure-footed than before. He seemed invincible, all-powerful. In just 1 year, that seems to be going.
Jay, the body language of Modi, candidate Modi is not as confident, was more confident than Prime Minister Modi. He is losing out some of his sheen.
You know that old saying about campaigning in poetry and governing in prose. Yeah. But let me say this. I think, yes, this government has had its share of stumbles in the past 1 year. But if you look at the overall performance, I would rate the performance reasonably high. Let's look at 2 or 3 different aspects. I think everybody agrees that on the foreign policy front, it has been a huge success. And those who carp only carp on issues like there is not enough focus on the domestic economy or that the Prime Minister is traveling too much. But I think it was necessary to rebuild India's image, which had taken a beating. And secondly,
Internationally, had it taken a beating?
yes, it had.
Yes,
Yes,
it
it
had.
had.
Okay.
He's completely
Now,
right.
and secondly, you know, the foreign policy achievements do play to the domestic economy, because look at the dozens of countries which today now get visa on arrival, and the Indian diaspora
That's
as well.
e-visa, not visa.
E-visa, he made a mistake on that. It's not a
Let
visa
me
on
correct.
arrival.
Let me
Again,
correct.
it's an image building exercise
Let's
gone
just
wrong.
it hasn't gone
No,
wrong
you're
at all.
You're right.
It
Visa
hasn't gone wrong
shortly
at all.
before arrival shall be.
I take back the exact wording, but the reality is today in dozens of countries, I have personally heard in many countries myself, it is easier to get an Indian visa, less hassle and easier to visit. And just by fact that we have enormous tourism potential, I think that is going to add a little bit of an uptick to the domestic economy, and it creates a lot of jobs and all of that. Now, if you look at the domestic economy, I think the Prime Minister has been fortuitous in the sense that oil prices have been low. But also, take a look at something. In this budget session last month, the 3 economic bills that were passed represent the single biggest economic legislative breakthrough in a decade. If you look at the past decade, there are a lot of notable social legislation that was passed. But economic packages, no. So this is a big breakthrough. The announcements that are being made regarding infrastructure, the announcements that are being made on a variety of other issues such as ease of doing business, I think all of this will add to the future. But these are building blocks, and I think overall, not a bad year at all. There is a crossroads coming up, and choices will have to be made by the Prime Minister. I don't think the body language indicates anything other than governing is different than campaigning.
Okay. Dushyant, you want to come in on this?
I totally agree with Jayapanda on this issue that the Prime Minister has
Amit, I
done.
thought you would be facing opposition, I think.
He's done
I'm happy
fairly.
to state
You
my
can
point.
take on all comers.
He's done doing fairly good. If you see the economy, it's picking up, but still a lot more has to be done. There was a scheme, as Sambit was saying, that Jan Dhan Yojana touched the Guinness Book of World Records. You have to see the setbacks of that also. 42% of the bank accounts still lie empty. It's a revenue loss to the country. We aren't thinking about issues such as these also, the farmers, the agrarian crisis we are facing. So problems have started coming up, and I think he has to face it in a harder way. I think the government has to make policies for all regions, and as we've seen the budget session coming to an end, whichever minister stands up, he at the end says only one thing: now state has more power. It's not the state government. I think the center has to provide the funds.
Samit, one thing that's come out, and everybody's saying good report card, but they're saying he should be more inclusive, whether it's more secular or whether it is, more pro-poor.
No,
That seems to be one
he
criticism.
has been inclusive. He has been as inclusive as the constitution of the country wants the Prime Minister to be
He
inclusive.
hasn't,
But
come
rather
out very
over here,
strong.
I would take on very strongly, saying that we have tried to create a perception in a negative way. In this, I would mean the opposition. I mean, we had seen that the opposition built up something saying that the churches are being attacked. The opposition tried to even sail this idea offshore, saying that, well, Christians are not safe in this country. And of late, what the reports suggest, that most of these were isolated incidences, and we have seen that when the Bengal nun rape case happened, a very unfortunate incident which we all condemned, when the culprits were really hounded, then everyone fell silent, and the similar case happened in the Agra church attack as well. So we have to really know that we should not speak out of turn just in order to see to it that the government is stopped midway in performing good. And as far as we rightly suggested that 3 or 4 points which he sees are points of concerns. Number one, he said that the burden of expectation is quite huge. And I believe it's good that the burden of expectation is huge, but the blame falls with Mr. Gogoi's party because they did not deliver for all these years. It's natural that the pending burden is on us.
So it's Mr. Gogoi's fault that you had a huge majority.
I think
And now
that
you have to live
they've
up
got
to
the
it.
majority, and it's now time that speeches are over. I think people are tired of listening to the same speech over and over and again. They're waiting for results, and Delhi was a clear indicator that, if the results are not shown, then the people will give their result in terms of the ballot boxes. Now, coming to the point of being inclusive, I think there is a perceptible fear in terms of minorities of that the majority group or the government is not really being forcefully advocating for the security. And I say this again because we hear the Prime Minister making very honest remarks, making very noble remarks about communal tolerance, but we see ourselves in daily media reports, organizations that are close to the ruling party are behind some of this attacks and are behind the reasons for the fear and insecurity among people, but yet we don't see a word. And more astoundingly so, it's the ministers within this government who are making some of the most remarks that are unparliamentary, which in any other democratic country would have called for them to be sacked.
But see, Modi does come in and reprimand them, and who knows better than the Congress that not saying a word for so long, but when you finally say something
I
that
think
works.
I don't really want to go back to the horrid example of a minister, talking about the non-believers in Hinduism and what are they destined for. But the kind of remarks coming from a minister on such an issue, the kind of remarks that came from a minister which almost was, bordering racism and affected a foreign country in terms of Nigeria. So much for your foreign policy. I think all this image building that is taking place in terms of foreign policy is really improving the Prime Minister's image. He's becoming popular, he's engaging with a lot of people on social media. But if you look at strategically, as really on substance, has a relationship improved with the US? The US has still supplied a major arms package to Pakistan. Has a relationship improved with China? China is incurring, mounting incursions on Arunachal. Has it improved with Pakistan? In fact, now we have reached a point where in Jammu Kashmir, people are waving Pakistani flags. So really, I think this image building exercise is clearly going to decline, and Delhi results will show that people want change, not just speech.
Yeah, we're going to Delhi a bit later, but what he's saying that the Prime Minister is improving his image, but at the cost of the country.
That's like saying Indira Gandhi is improving her image at the cost of the Congress. Given the nature of that victory, there wasn't much difference between Modi and the BJP. So the argument that the country is losing out is not one I can see. What I think is happening, however, is that the areas where Modi is vulnerable, the areas that suggest he's a fan of big business, for want of a better term, because he promises growth. Given not anything Modi has said, he's been very, very careful, but the kind of things his supporters, particularly on social media, and many in the cabinet have said about minorities in this country, it's easy to point fingers at him and say that his is not an inclusive government. It's not enough to say the Prime Minister took so-and-so aside and gave them a quiet talking to. What you need is a more assertive coming forward by the Prime Minister to reassure minorities, action taken against people who speak loosely, and that's not happened.
Who would have thought we'd want Modi to be more assertive? He's been such an assertive chief minister, but somewhere there's a gap.
This foot in the mouth disease among ministers is not, it's not for the first time that India is seeing this. I think every cabinet over the last 60 odd years has seen people in office make gaffes. Fortunately, most of the people that are making these gaffes are not significant senior players in the dispensation. And I think the Prime Minister has taken some steps to control them.
There are very few senior players in the dispensation also.
Well, yes, they've been out of power for a decade, and yes, they are rebuilding their team. And I think between their assignments in the party and in the government, they probably have choices to make. But although mostly I think I appreciate the stand that Gaurav Gogoi has taken on many fronts, I'll humbly disagree with him on one thing. I interact a lot with people from other countries in Track 2 and other events, and I can tell you there is a real serious positive image that Prime Minister Modi and India have now achieved. I have recently been in Nepal before the crisis. I have been in Sri Lanka. I have talked to our counterparts in Bangladesh. I was recently in the US, and see, it's not a mirage. It is a real serious turnaround of image for the country and of course for the Prime Minister. Now, what economic benefits will flow from that is still a conjecture, but there are hard decisions that this government has to take on the economic front, because as Veer was pointing out, expectations had been raised by slogans such as minimum government, maximum governance. There have been crossed signals that have been sent out on the tax front. There is a feeling that honest taxpayers are not being given a level playing field, and those who ought to be brought into the tax net are getting away scot-free. So these messaging aspects need to be corrected. A lot of the first year has gone in narrative changes, and from henceforth it has to shift gear into implementing the new narrative.
Dushyant, back in Haryana, this PM's image is worldwide improving. How does that affect you? What is your priority from the Prime Minister?
As Jay finished it, I'll start it from there. That it is more or less a narrative government that's been happening, and I think everybody would agree. Since the first day we started talking about smart cities, we haven't even had a plan yet on the floor. If we see other big plans, what MNCs are coming in, they've had CEO conferences. Which business has started coming into India? Nobody has. And I think it's already been 1 year, and 4 years will go like this only, waiting for the changes on the floor to come in. In India, people want job. We have an economy that has approximately 30 to 40 crore people. They don't have jobs in their hand. Farmers are into a crisis situation because there was a drought and a hailstorm this time. So government has to make policies. Policies have to get implemented at a faster pace. I think the government has not even focused a single policy on farmers yet. And
They're trying to do the land bill, which you're not letting them.
As far as the land bill is concerned, I believe a lot of disinformation has been quoted by the opposition, and
Your
even
government
blaming.
is being accused of not communicating properly. Which
No,
was the
I'm
problem
telling
with their
you, I'm
government?
telling
But do you
you.
accept that? You think there is
No,
a-
see,
so that means the messaging, your messaging is wrong
perception,
then.
perception
I think
in
at
politics
some
is
point
definitely
we have to take
important, but we have to be
responsibility and not
patient
blame the
enough
opposition all the
we have to
time.
be patient enough without arrogance on our face, especially when we are in government, to brick by brick bring down the perception and show what is right. And particularly when you say that the land bill was the one which is responsible for the for the farmer suicide, you are exposed to the people, because neither the land bill is in its finality, neither is its passed, and yet the Congress Vice President Mr. Rahul Gandhi says that it is because of the land bill that Kisan ki Atmahatya ho rahi hai. It shows that the Congress itself is exposing its own wrongs. And as far as the farmers' problem is concerned, the part which has really touched myself is, I mean, the hailstorm was not receiving any compensation till now. We were not discussing about that. Thanks to this government, that at least it has amended the rules to see to it that we receive compensation for hailstorms. So rather than lauding this great effect, you say that why the compensations have not reached the ground. It is because of the fact that state governments are issuing checks to the worth of 62 rupees, 7 rupees, which we have all seen on the television.
Gaurav, why are you not lauding his compensation for hailstorms?
I don't know. I think we are in a state of emergency when it comes to farmers, and I don't think the government has done anything for it to be compliment on it. See, agriculture has long-term structural issues. We all agree, and we've all tried our best. But as Dushyant mentioned, here is a time of crisis and emergency. Unseasonal weather, low MSP from the government, delayed fertilizer imports have created havoc, and farmers are committing suicides even in those states where they didn't commit suicides anymore.
Well, time for a break, but don't go away, because we're going to come back and continue this discussion on the 1 year of Modi government. Discussing 1 year of the Modi government.
Well, look, compare the two states, 2011-12, there was bumper crop. You had extra productions, but there was a time when you could not store the food grains, and the food grains were there for the rats to consume, where the Supreme Court had rapped on your knuckles and said, for God's sake, let not the rat consume the grain, let the poor people of this country consume the
But I just
grain.
wanted to
And over
move
here
on.
we have underproduction, and the government is doing the best that it can do, and yet you are unable to see what we are doing.
Okay. We are able
It was
Why,
just
why are
50
the farmers
seconds, right?
protesting against this government?
We've
I
been
mean,
timing you.
I'm sure the farmers of this country are not.
Okay, I'm going to move away from the
They're
farmers to the
protesting.
other.
Their own farmer organizations are protesting. I'm surely they understand. Why
I
is
give you
Bharat
that,
Kisan
Gaurav.
Sangh and Bharat
But
Mazdoor
can I
Sangh
bring in Veer here?
protesting against
this,
them?
the government is not proper enough, but the whole corporate image, the baggage that Modi carries himself, how is he going to, let him say first before he disagrees.
Well, I think many people have made parallels. I have myself between Modi and Mrs. Gandhi, who were really leaders who won majorities on the basis of their own charisma and remade the parties in their own image. One important difference between Mrs. Gandhi and Modi, and to some extent even with the first UPA government, is that when they came in, they introduced a slew of measures that showed what they stood for. Mrs. Gandhi, I didn't agree with them, nationalization of banks, removal of privy purses, etc. In the case of the UPA, the Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, the write-off of farmers' loans, they had big bang announcements that said what their agenda was. One of the problems, I think, with the Modi government is that there haven't been those big bang announcements. It hasn't been communicated. Perhaps disinformation, as Sambit says, hasn't been communicated what their agenda is. To keep saying we are fixing the corruption you guys did and we are redistributing the rice that the rats ate up because you guys didn't do anything is good for about 3 months. After that, people want to know who are you, where do you stand, what are you going to do? And that's where, to quote Arun Shuri, there is an element of directionless.
Jay, is this a Soot-boot ki sarkar or a Sooj-booj ki sarkar? This is the final comments here.
I think it's a bit odd that Mr. Modi, who has come from very humble beginnings, is being portrayed as anti-poor, and particularly by many of his opponents who've had very privileged.
Suit he wore had something to do with it.
Perhaps, but you know, there are people that have been wearing, other people that have been wearing fancy imported clothes also, and people born into privilege really ought not to be challenging Mr. Modi's concern for the poor. But let me say the following: whether you talk about farmers and all, we are mixing up, conflating a lot of issues. There is a genuine short-term farmers crisis that needs to be addressed with relief. There is a genuine long-term farmers crisis which has been exacerbated by Government of India policies across many governments over the past many decades. We overproduce cereals, we don't produce value-added crops, we don't have a cold chain that needs to be addressed. And the land issue is actually quite divorced from all of that, because the fact is more than 50% of our population in farming, creating less than 1/4 of the output is not sustainable. We have to find other jobs for farmers' sons and daughters who don't want to do farming anymore. And until we can offer those jobs, you know, this will not be acceptable to people. One of the things that I think Sambit and his colleagues ought to be saying is that they have extensively consulted all the states. And some of the demands that we are making, for instance, BJD, is that apart from just compensation, farmers who lose their lands must be given partnerships in the economic benefits that are to accrue from their land.
Yeah.
And unless that happens, this issue will not get resolved.
Okay. Dushant, final word. If Modi government is so disastrous, why did he win Haryana, for instance?
That was with the flow. I think Haryana came in a very short period.
Haryana came before Delhi.
It's before Delhi, and I think Delhi set the benchmark for the BJP to come in into further elections. Most probably Bihar is coming up next, then you have Uttar Pradesh, and everything will follow what Bihar result will say, I think, because as you asked, it is, I think, Sooj-booj ki suited sarkar, more or less, what I can
Sooj-booj
say.
ki suited sarkar, Gaurav?
Because they don't go into the people that
I think it's strange for the BJP to say that they have failed to communicate, because that's the one thing that we know, we saw in the election, that they are masters of marketing and communication.
Correct.
So if they're not being able to communicate, then seriously that means the policies are not there for the poor and the masses, whether it's farmers, whether it's the buyers of real estate in Delhi, whether it's the laborers working in factories. You've seen no legislation which empowers middle class home buyers, which empowers factory workers, which empowers farmers. All legislation has really empowered big corporates, and that's why this image of pro-corporate has stuck with this government, and despite their fantastic communication efforts, is refusing to leave them.
Why are you refusing to communicate? And Veer, you can sum up the debate.
No, I believe our action is communicating, and I believe about the corporate world, what you were saying, the facts are spoken more than even the rhetorics. And the fact is that who drew the money that you had allowed these big corporates to pocket during the coal auction? Who took away this money? It was this government who took away the 2 lakh crores from their
Veer
pocket
said
and
you have
1
to
lakh
move
crore
beyond
during
the
the
scams.
section.
No, now you have to tell
No,
us what
this
you
is
are
not a
doing,
scam.
and not just fixing what they did wrong.
I'm speaking about the corporate image that you are trying to project. I'm saying, no, we have extracted this money back from the corporates and given it to the tribal states. So we are a government which is with the tribals, with the common people. And secondly, as far as Veer saying that the big bang reforms is required, I believe, as Mr. Arun Jaitley rightly put it, reforms are never big bang. They are 365 into 7-day job. They have to go on every day, bit by bit, till the whole country is built. And as far as Delhi is concerned, I believe we did not lose a single percentage of our vote share. Yes, mistakes must have been there. We must have gained more. But it was because of the devastation of Congress and the BSP that we got these many seats.
Again, you're blaming it on the others. Veer, final word.
Well, finally, I think to sum up, I don't think it's been a bad first year. I think the reason we think it's a bad first year is because there were such huge expectations at the beginning. By and large, he's got the country back on the rails. But I think it's the second year that will be crucial. He's now got to tell us, as I said before, what he stands for, how he's going to achieve it. I accept that he comes from a very poor background, and how can you call him pro-corporate, but let's not forget, however poor Modi was, we had a prime minister who came from a much poorer background, and that was Manmohan Singh. He came from a really deprived background, but he also was pro-corporate. It worked because he was balanced out by Sonia Gandhi, who came from a not so poor background, but seemed to care very much for the rural poor. So you need that kind of balance in the Modi government, and I don't see it.
Does Modi need a Sonia Gandhi?
I'm not even going to get into that one.
Okay, on that note, we'll end the show. Thank you for watching this edition of Story Unfolds. We'll see you again, same time next week.